Hey guys, what's up? Tom Fountainhead back with day number 3 of the tapping week. Remember, this is the 30 days of guitar lessons challenge here on my YouTube channel, Fountainhead TV. So I'm giving you guys one free guitar lesson every day of the month. And so this is the tapping week dedicated to two-handed tapping, as the name suggests. And we've been going over this very particular little technique for the right hand these last 2 days. And today I want to do the obvious by taking this one step further. Yesterday we had already a string skip involved, hammer-ons from nowhere, and a few little subtle muting techniques that we discussed. So if you've missed that, go back and check out the video from yesterday for day 2. So today, more of the same, but we're gonna move it from the E string to the G string like we did yesterday, and now we're gonna add this thing right here. All right. So I know super advanced players out there will probably yawn and say, "Oh, well, been there, done that." But this is not for you. This is all of these lessons are basically directed at intermediate players, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys out there will find something useful in this. So again, we have the right hand technique where through clever placement of the tension between these two tapping fingers, we will hopefully be able to create a very snappy, powerful tapping sound that doesn't sound like it's coming from a different hand, right? You don't want to, or I at least don't want to, have one sound to the left hand and one sound to the right hand. So that's one way to achieve this sort of fluidity. And we had the hammer-ons from nowhere with the left hand muting. Now we are pulling off to the 7th fret on the G string. Another hammer-on from nowhere. And we play B and C. Remember when I said that the technique in the right hand is exactly the same, no matter if we have whole steps between the fingers or half steps. Pulling off to the E and the index finger, sliding up, hammering on the A, and finishing off with a little tapping harmonic. All right, so let's get into the details of it. Again, there's a little bit more than meets the eye. So when I go from the G string to the A string, I deliberately change my hand posturing. So I'm pulling back the hand a little bit, just a tiny little bit, so that when I hammer on, I'm hammering on the note that I want to hammer on, obviously, but at the same time, I'm slightly touching the D and G strings with the inside of my right hand, of my that finger here, of my ring finger. Right? So that is something that may not be obvious from just watching this. So pull your hand back a little bit while doing this, so you have more muting going on over here. And then, in another little muting trick, while I'm coming down with this finger, take a close look at what the index finger is doing. So yeah, like a split second after this one meets its target, I'm already jumping down, or more like I'm pushing this downwards. It's not like I'm jumping, so I'm not really leaving the strings. So I'm just slightly changing my position, the index finger, so that this is blocking right now pretty much every string except the low B string, because obviously this quasi barré just touching all these strings, that's obvious, but also, if you can see that, but I've trained myself to do this just until I slightly touch the low E string, just a tiny tiny bit, so that this one is muted as well. It's kind of like a safety measure, because I already have the muting going on in the right hand. Remember, we talked about that. Even though you are using your palm to to mute all the lower strings, at the same time using it to kind of like a guiding mechanism to find the place where you want to tap, right? So yeah, lots of little details here. And even at this point, while I'm sliding up and hammering on here, I make sure that this finger's touching the E string at all time, because I'm using quite a bit of gain. So all of those things are safety measures in order to play as clean as possible. And I'm certainly not the cleanest guitar player on the planet, far from it. And I certainly don't have the cleanest technique, especially in the right hand. That's never been the case. So if people along the way have given me compliments for how clean I play, this is the reason. The reason is that to make up for that lack of proper right hand technique and not really being the best at like picking super clean and everything, I've developed these little helpers, these little extra things in the left hand that by now I don't even think about, right? Yeah, that's all going on. And then the last note, I top off with hammering on the 24th fret, so one octave above the A. I mean, this is a simple technique, right? You probably all seen this, where one octave above, so 12 frets up, you are hammering on the note. Like, for example, if I be playing this 8th fret here, then on the 20th fret, because 8 plus 12 equals 20, I will be hammering on, but I'm not hammering on the in between the two frets, like you would if you would fret the note, but I'm actually hammering on the 20th fret, like exactly onto the fret. Right? So that's how you do that, for those of you who didn't know. Right? You can do it in all sorts of different places, where if you know where to find these harmonics. And I don't know, I like doing that, there's something subversive about playing a descending pattern. And then, topping it off with a note that's like an octave above. I don't know, for some reason I like doing that. So yeah, that's it. So, this technique, or this combination of techniques, obviously can be used on all string combinations and all sorts of stuff. But I think it's just important to point out that if you want to build tapping sequences, string skipping, tapping sequences like that, try experimenting with bringing in different notes. So you have two hands, right? And you can do all sorts of combinations. So here it's pretty basic, because I'm just tapping A and B and the lower octave to A and B, right? So meh, kind of meh. But then once I go down here to G and E, I'm playing B and C. So now we have this little E minor with a flat 6. Kind of reminds you of the Stranger Things theme, right? So that's a beautiful little chord. And you know, that's, to me, that's more interesting than playing, you know, yet another lower octave of the same thing. So you can definitely experiment, also experiment with moving your hands into opposite directions. You know, you can create all sorts of little mini harmonies when you move your hands in opposite directions, and and you're not limited to moving both hands at the exact same speed and amount of frets. And if you are training yourself to have different patterns, you know, here, like here, whole tone apart, half tone apart. And then maybe you could do like even 2 whole steps apart. Right. So yeah, that's just a general advice. And this video has already been going on for far too long. So I will be seeing you tomorrow when we take this technique to yet another level. And then it gets pretty tricky because we're gonna use 8-finger tapping. Lord of mercy. All right. So I'm gonna see you tomorrow as usual. Like and subscribe, ring the notification bell, super important. Comment. The tabs for this are on my social media on Facebook and Instagram, which are linked in the description below. And as usual, if you know somebody, if you have a guitar player buddy that would be benefiting from watching these videos, maybe just hopefully you will be sharing this with them, you know, for the greater good. Like, take one for the team. All right. Love you guys. Bye. See you tomorrow.